Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Congratulations to you for making the choice to further your education at this great, great, great institution. Congrats to you. Hats off. I would like to introduce you. Well, first of all, my name is Andrea. I am one of the academic advisors as well as financial aid advisors here at the University of Toronto in the office of the registrar. I can introduce you to my colleagues as well. Oh, here is my colleague, Catherine. Catherine is one of the academic advisors here in the office of the registrar. We have Nagaresh as well, academic advisor. We have Laura, who is a peer leader. We have Stephanie, who's an undergraduate advisor. In biology, we have Jody, who is in the psychology department, and we have Cece, who's another peer leader as well. Catherine, if you would like to take it from here, you're more than welcome to.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So again, my name is Catherine. I'm one of the academic advisors from the Office of the Registrar. So today we are doing our course enrollment workshop, and we're specifically going to be focused on those programs that are in sciences. The general information we are providing will be helpful to anyone watching, no matter the program, but today it will be specifically helpful for those who are in computer science, math and stats, life science, chemical and physical property sciences, forensic science, and psychology. So before we jump into our presentation, we do want to start with a land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are very grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Okay, so right now, you can see on your screen, it is the agenda, kind of the overview of today's session. So first, we'll be reviewing some important dates that we all want you to be aware of. We'll be talking about degree requirements and helping you understand that, what it means to choose your program, choosing your courses, planning resources, some next steps, which include payment methods and picking up your student card, aka your T card. And then we will also have a Q&A session at the end with the help of our undergraduate advisors from psychology and biology. Throughout the rest of the presentation, you're also welcome to throw questions in the chat if you feel comfortable, or we can answer them later at the end after you've gone through the presentation. Okay, so to start off, we want to review some very key dates with you all, starting with course enrollment date. The majority of you all are probably coming into your first year, so you're considered a year one student. So the important date for you all to know is that July 16th. That is the day that you can start enrolling in courses. If you are an upper year or a transfer student, July 8th is for our year 2 students, and July 2nd was for our year 3 students. The deadline to pay or defer your fees will be on August 12th. So on your course enrollment date, you'll be adding your courses on Acorn, but you don't have to pay right away. You have until August 12th to either pay your fees or to defer your fees, which we can talk about a bit more closer to the end of the session. And important to note that this year, our first day of classes is on September 2nd, so quite early in September this year. So please make sure you are here for that. And then you will have the opportunity to add and drop your fall semester courses as well as your year-long courses up until September 15th and still receive your course fees back. So this gives you about 2 weeks typically of courses to try out the courses, attend a couple of lectures, and see whether the course or the course load is right for you. And you can find all these dates are on our UTM important dates page. You can just throw that into Google or another search engine and it'll pop up. Perfect. Yes, dates and deadlines. So to review some basics of how do I earn my U of T degree? Some basic information to know is that at U of T, we offer four different types of degrees. So there is an honors bachelor's of arts, an HBA, an honors bachelor's of science, a bachelor's of commerce, and a bachelor's of business administration. So to earn one of those four degrees, every student must complete their degree requirements, and that is standard and applies to all U of T students, as well as your program requirements. This will change for each student depending on their program combination that they do choose, which we will be reviewing later today as well. Okay, so some outlines of your degree requirements. So to note, all students have to complete a general set of requirements to earn a U of T degree. This includes completing 20.0 credits and earning a cumulative grade point average or CGPA of at least a 1.85 or more by graduation. And to note, we are on a 4.0 GPA scale here at UTM. So, some things to note. One, program of study is also known as a subject post. So, those terms are used interchangeably here at UTM. For your post, you have to choose one of these three standard options. You either have to do one specialist, or two majors, or one major and two minors. You also have to complete your distribution requirements. So of your 20.0 credits, 3.0 of those credits need to be from your distribution requirements, 1.0 coming from humanities, 1.0 from social sciences, and 1.0 for sciences. This is the way to make sure that all of our students have a well-rounded education. And then you also need to have 20.0 credits in total and to graduate, and this includes at least 13.0 of those credits being at least the 200 plus level, and at least of those 6 credits being at the 300, 400 level. Again, when we talk about levels, we will be discussing that further in the webinar so you can understand what those mean. So with the program of study, we have over 180 programs that you can choose from here at UTM, and you can create an experience that is unique to you and that fits you and your needs. So some things to know, a specialist of your 20.0 credits that you need to graduate in total, depending on the specialist program, you will either have to complete 10 to 18 of credits that are specific to that specialist. For a major, of your 20 credits required to graduate, a major will consist of 6.5 to 9 credits. And for your minor, 20.0 required of your credits to graduate. For a minor, 4 to 4.5 will be required. Again, this will depend on which programs that you choose. Excuse me. You are able to customize your degree, so you can specialize and focus on up to one program. So that's like if you do a specialist, or you can combine up to 3 programs. Say if you want to do a major and 2 minors to diversify your interests and goals. Again, this is going to be different for everyone. It's important that you are choosing something that fits right for you. There is not one right answer. It is a very personal choice. So when we are choosing our programs, there are some things to consider. So number one, please start exploring. First year is the best time to explore all of the academic options here at UTM. Again, there's over 180 to choose from. So your first year is a really great time to try courses that sound interesting, or something that you've never tried before that you've always maybe had an interest in, or something completely different. It's really great. It's a really great time to explore. Two, you also need to prepare. So some programs are more competitive than others to get into. So entry requirements are listed in detail to help you prepare so you know what prerequisites you'll need to take to get into that program. And three, you have to apply. So you will be choosing your program at the end of your first year. Right now, you're kind of in a general stream or the general stream of the program, but at the end of your first year, typically you will apply for your program or once you've earned 4.0 credits. So if you don't earn 4.0 credits in your first year, that's fine. You'll apply after you've earned 4.0 credits. So there are different types of programs. So for type one, it is considered a less competitive program because there is unlimited number of students that can get in. It's open to all students, an automatic approval. So if you applied right now on Acorn, you would get in right away, and there's no program entry requirements. Type 2 is a bit more competitive. There's an unlimited number of spaces in the program, but you must meet certain program entry requirements. So this includes completing specific courses, achieving certain grades, or a certain CGPA. And then type 3 programs are the most competitive typically because there is limited spaces. So you must meet program entry requirements, and this includes completing specific courses, achieving certain grades or CGPAs. But again, there's limited spaces in these programs, which is why it is typically more competitive. So some things to consider. One is take time to explore UTM's programs and plan ahead if possible. So think about, are there specific courses that you need to take for the specific program that you're interested in? Two, it's totally okay and it is very, very normal to change your mind or not know what you want to study throughout your undergraduate career. First year specifically is a really great time to explore your options. You can change courses and programs to find a good fit throughout first year or throughout your entire undergraduate career. So it is definitely okay if you are already second guessing what you're interested in. This is a great time to figure out what you are interested in. Three, distribution requirements help you explore other program areas, and they can also count towards your electives. So again, distribution requirements, every student has to complete 3.0 credits worth of distribution requirements, 1.0 coming from science, 1.0 coming from social science, and 1.0 coming from humanities. And four, we are here to help. You're not going through this alone. There's a lot of resources and supports and guidance here to help you figure out what your next steps are and what is going to be a great decision for you. There's something called UTM 1 courses, which are 4-credit courses that you could take it as an elective. They are designed to be smaller classrooms and help that transition from high school to first year or transitioning into first year. So UTM courses are really great. The launch program also helps build smaller, tight-knit communities of people in similar academic disciplines. This is not for credit, so you don't earn credit for this, but this is a way for you to get to know people in your program areas and also learn from upper years in your program who can help you and kind of give you that insider information and how to best practices. You have my office, which is the office of the registrar. So we support you with any financial aid, scholarships, registration, academic planning. That is who you come to. And then we also have our wonderful team members in the Career Center. They are there to help you anything career related, whether that is an internship during your undergraduate career, or if you're thinking about graduate school, medical school, law school, or how to find a job after you graduate. The Career Center are your experts on campus. So as we were talking about like working towards your degree, there's all these different things you have to consider, which is why we have our own U of T specific tool. It's called Degree Explorer, and you can track your progress with Degree Explorer. So with this tool, you can check which degree and program requirements you have completed and what are still outstanding. You can also use our planner option to forecast which courses you will take and like how that's going to impact how you move forward. You can also watch our videos on Degree Explorer to learn more, and there's a link through Quarkus. Oh, oh, sorry about that. I am actually going to take a little intermission. I'm going to throw this to our two peer leaders, Laura and Cece, who are going to talk a bit more about their experience with Degree Explorer.
Looking back on my first year at UTM, I wasn't sure what programs I wanted to complete. As such, I found myself wanting to take elective courses that would help me fulfill my degree requirements while exploring my potential pathways.
So what tool did you use to manage that?
Well, I used the Degree Explorer tool to view my degree requirements. This led me to picking electives that would fulfill my distribution requirements.
That sounds helpful. How did you ensure that you're completing your your program's enrollment requirements while fulfilling your pathway exploration?
I used the UTM Academic Calendar website to view different program enrollment requirements. I picked my courses in accordance with such requirements. This was particularly helpful in my first year course enrollment choices, such that it provided me with flexibility while selecting my program of study. This led me to pursue the program that I was most interested in, namely my minor in political science.
The flexibility provided through picking your electives and exploring your program options was my favorite part of first year. I encourage you all to use tools such as Degree Explorer and the academic calendar to remain informed when selecting your courses. Good luck in your first year and have fun with your academic pathway exploration.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, CP. So we are going to continue and we're going to talk about some next steps. So what are our next steps? I know it can feel very overwhelming. We're throwing a lot of information at you all. So one, we're going to break it down is to explore our academic calendar. We're going to break this down even more going forward, but in general, we are going to very much encourage you to take your time and truly explore the site and understand how to navigate it. It's going to be extremely helpful throughout not just your first year, but through your entire academic career. So really build a strong foundation with the site to figure out what you need to know from out of it. This is your first step. For two, we want you to explore program options. So we very much encourage you all to use our course enrollment workbook to help guide you through some of the important questions you might have and some things we want you to consider as you're moving forward in choosing your programs. And three, explore course options. So some questions you might have are, how many courses should I take? What is considered full-time? How do I read a course code? We're going to be breaking all this down and answering all your questions today in the workshop. Okay, so some important things about reading our academic calendar. Course codes provides you with a lot of important information right at a glance. So we're going to break it down right now to understand what these course codes mean. So course codes provide us with a lot of important information. This includes what program the course belongs to, what level the course is, aka kind of like a first year course, a second year course, the credit value. Remember, we're working towards 20.0 credits to be able to graduate, and when is it being offered, and also where is it being offered, aka which campus out of the 3 U of T campuses is it being offered. So for our first example, we're going to use the course code ENG 101H5F. So all these characters do mean something. So for the first 3 characters, the first 3 letters of any course code is representing of the department the course is. So in this example, ENG stands for English. And then this first number here, the 1 for ENG 101, is the level of study. So 100 level courses are typically first year or introductory courses, whereas a 400 level course are the most advanced courses intended for upper year students. So for most of my incoming first years, you will be working on a lot of 100 level courses in your upcoming year. And then so all these 3 numbers together identify which course in the calendar, timetable, and acorn it is. So this is very important to keep in mind. These 3 digits are very different and represent different codes. So please pay close attention. Changing 1 digit here can make all the difference between enrolling in how to read critically, which would be ENG like 101 versus how to research literature, which is ENG 102. So we're making sure getting those numbers correct is very important. And this H here, which is the 7th character, will tell you what course the weight is. So H is equal to 0.5 credit course. I like to think of it as like H is equal to half for half the year. So this is a course that typically only spans 1 semester. And then Y is for the full year course, and that's going to be a 1.0 credit course. This last digit here, so for ENG 101H5, this number indicates which campus the course is being offered. So typically for my UTM students, most of the courses, the majority of your courses will happen here at UTM. So that is represented by the 5. If you want to take courses at other U of T campuses, from the Faculty of Arts and Science, which is the campus downtown on St. George Street, the 1 will be the representative, or if you want to take courses at UT Scarborough, it would be a 3. So again, some things to note is that you can take courses at other campuses. So if there's a course being offered, maybe at Scarborough that's not here, that is an option that you could do. And then this last letter will either be an F, an S, or a Y. So this identifies a session that a course is being offered and the academic duration of the course. So typically F is from September to December. So I like to think of it as F for first, so the first semester of the year. It may represent May or June if you're taking summer school or entering in the summer session, but that is optional. S would be the second semester, so that would be January to April, or again, if you're taking summer school, July to August. And then Y is for the full year. Y would represent September to April in the regular academic semester, or May to August in the summer school semester. Okay, so step 2 is building our schedule. So when you do build your schedule, we highly recommend using the tool Timetable Builder. This is a really helpful tool that you'll be using throughout your entire undergraduate career. So when you find a course that you want to take, see if it is being offered. And I believe I am sending it now back to Laura and Cece for a little intermission.
Hey Laura, I wanted to discuss how you approached building your timetable in first year. Do you have any advice?
In my first year, I noticed that building a timetable that was conflict-free was challenging. Each of my courses required me to ensure that I was enrolled in different sections, including lectures, tutorials, and labs. Using the UTM Timetable Builder was transformative for me. Using the Timetable Builder allowed me to create hypothetical timetables that helped me recognize and substantially fix conflicts in my schedule.
Yeah, the timetable builder continues to inform my course enrollment even as an upper year student. However, were there any first year specific resources that you found helpful in your first year?
So working through the enrollment workbook provided me with the foundational knowledge I needed to begin my course enrollment process. This allowed me to learn how to prioritize program enrollment requirements, selecting electives, and finding links to important resources.
I also found the enrollment workbook to be an important starting point for my first year course selection. I encourage all first years to look through the workbook, fill it out, and familiarize yourself with the highlighted resources mentioned in it. Good luck and welcome to UTM.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Cece. So for our steps as well, some things to consider is when you are building your schedule, is if a course has a lecture, tutorial, and or practical, you have to make sure you enroll in each of them. It's not optional. So typically a course will have a lecture and then a tutorial or a practical, which is similar to like a lab. And those are things that you do have to enroll in as well. So some overview of and general guidelines of course loads. Typically here at UTM, full-time students are considered any student who is in 3.0 credits or more in the fall winter semester, or if you have 0.5 to 2.5 credits in the fall or winter, you are considered a part-time student. I do want to highlight our support for international students, whether you identify as an international student or not. The IEC, the International Education Center, is there to support you all throughout your education. So the IEC offers free immigration advising and programming support for all international students, and this can include immigration advising, transition support and programming, the university health insurance plan, global learning opportunities, and also employment support. And you can find them right here at utm.utoronto.ca/international. You can also look on any search engine. If you put in like UTM IEC for the International Education Center, it'll be one of the first links that pop up. Okay. So some tips. The standard course load in the fall winter session is typically 5.0 credits. So that's how much you would earn throughout the entire year. And this is typically done to graduate in 4 years. I want to note and preface that you do not have to graduate in 4 years. If you want to graduate a little faster and you want to overload, you could do that, or you could take some extra time and graduate in 5 or 6 years. If you decide to take a pause or a lighter course load, you have those options. So don't feel like you have to graduate in 4 years. You don't get kicked out of school if you're in for longer than 4 years. Also, many full-time students decide to take fewer than 5.0 in the fall, winter, and decide to enroll in the summer session as well. And they find that it balances out their schedule better. And also, when you are on Timetable Builder, it is really important to remove conflicts from your schedule because you cannot be in 2 places at once. You can make changes to your timetable throughout the summer with no penalties. But once classes begin, so that's on September 2nd, you become responsible for any fees or academic work in the course, even if you do not attend. So even if you're not going to the class, you are still financially and academically responsible for those things. So we do really encourage you to drop courses you no longer want as soon as possible, and keep an eye on the important dates page so you can avoid any, again, financial or academic deadlines. And you can find those important dates at uoft.me/UTM dates, or in a search engine, you can put in UTM important dates, and they'll be one of the first links. So some frequently asked questions are, what courses should I take? This is a very complex question. So some things we want you to consider are: prioritize the required courses for your programs. So that's really important. If there's a certain program that you're really interested in and you want to try and get into at the end of your first year, making sure you have all their entry requirements is essential. We also want you to consider your interests, your academic strengths, and also don't be afraid to try something new. Again, we're going to keep on prefacing, your first year is a really great time to explore your academic interests. So don't be afraid to try something new. You have to complete electives and distribution requirements that you need for graduations in general throughout your undergrad. So you could always do that in your first year. So then you can have a lot of more options going forward. So a reminder, you won't be choosing your programs until the end of the winter semester once you've earned 4.0 credits. So right now we are going to look at a mock schedule for someone who's interested in the biology program. So again, this is just a mock schedule, but we just wanted to kind of show you what it might look like. So this is their schedule for the fall term, and they're interested in biology. So we can see here they're taking Chem 110, Bio 152, and Mat 132. And we see that there's lectures and there's also tutorials assigned with those. But then we can also see that the student is taking Spanish 100, which would hit their humanity requirements, and then also Sociology 100, which would be halfway meeting their social science requirements. So you see that they have a pretty diverse and balanced schedule here. And then the same student, we can look at their fall term. They decide to take Chem 120, Bio 153, and then they're completing Mat 134 and still continuing in Spanish 100. But we can see here that they're maybe only taking 4 courses, and first semester they took 5. And again, that is totally normal. They are still considered a full-time student. Maybe they just chose a easier or lighter schedule because that's what works better for them in this session. So when we are building our schedules for the year, it's really important that we're checking the enrollment blocks. So on our screen here, this mock laptop right here, this is what you're going to see when you're using Timetable Builder. So you always want to hit and look for each course you're looking at, the enrollment controls, and it'll typically show enrollment controls. So the enrollment controls limit initial enrollment to students who meet very specific criteria. So this does not mean that you cannot enroll in the course at all. It may simply mean that you can have to try again later at a later date to enroll once enrollment controls are dropped. Okay, so some things to know, the money part of university. To secure your spot in the courses, you have to do so by either paying or deferring your fees. As I mentioned earlier in the session, on July 16th, for my incoming first years, that is the day that you're going to be enrolling in courses. You do not have to pay your tuition on that day specifically. You have until August 12th to either pay or to defer your fees. So some payment options include going directly, like transferring from your bank, from a Canadian bank, paying through a credit card on Acorn, for higher ed points. For any students who are paying from outside of Canada, there are different methods that you will have to go through there to make sure, and that can take a couple more business days. So I recommend that you start looking into that now. Again, if you look up UTM, like fees, international student, like it will show and like how to pay if you're paying from a bank outside of Canada. And then deferral options for tuition include if you're getting a government student loan. For my Ontario students, that would include OSAP, or if you're getting a scholarship from like a U of T scholarship and the money's not going to come till later, you can also be able to defer your fees till then. Okay. So some next steps that we want you to consider is when you're choosing your courses, please note that you are enrolling in both fall and winter. So again, on July 16th, you're going to be building out and choosing courses for your fall and winter. You can definitely change your courses afterwards if you decide, hey, I actually want to add an extra course or I want to try out this course. You definitely can, but please note that you are building your schedule for both fall and winter term on July 16th. And also, please do so as soon as possible because courses fill up very, very quickly. So on July 16th, we want you to be ready with like plan A, plan B, plan C, and be really ready to enroll your courses as soon as possible. Two, again, we talked about paying or deferring your fees. So to fully complete your registration, you have to pay or defer your tuition fees once you're available on Acorn. And then also once all that's done, we highly recommend getting your T card and your U of T accounts set up and ready. So T cards are what we call our U of T student cards. And so it's a really important piece of photo ID that you're going to be having with you throughout your undergraduate career. So we recommend booking a T card appointment to gain access to all your U of T student services, including your university email, Wi-Fi access, and more. And again, your university email is going to be extremely important throughout your undergraduate career. So you can find them at tcard.utoronto.ca. And then if you do have any other questions throughout the summer or throughout your undergraduate career, you can connect with my office, which is the Office of the Registrar. We are in the Innovation Complex, aka the Kenneth Building on campus. You can find us here at utm.utoronto.ca/registrar. For my new and incoming students, I highly, highly, highly recommend you look at our new students page. Everything from like course enrollment to a pre-arrival guide to like what's going on for orientation. All this information I know can feel overwhelming because it's everywhere on the internet. But when you go to our utm.utoronto.ca/new students, everything will be there. All the different links will be there. So if you only take one thing away from this presentation, please just visit the UTM new students page. Yes, thank you so much for being so patient and for being a wonderful audience. We will now be starting our Q&A session, so you can throw any questions you have in the chat. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be reading out some of our questions that you've asked in the chat, and if I can answer them, I will. If not, I might send it to one of my colleagues here on the screen who have more expertise in that area. So where can we check out our program requirements and how many courses can we take as extra or as electives? So again, on our UTM academic calendar, that is where all your program requirements are going to live. It'll show what you need to get in to apply to your program. And then how many courses can we take as extra or electives? So that's truly like up to you. Again, it depends if you want to be a full-time student or a part-time student. For a full-time student, you can take between 3.0 to 6.0 throughout the fall and winter session. But if you decide you want to take less than that, you can be considered a part-time student. I actually might ask Stephanie, do you have any insights or anything else you'd like to share? Or Jody, anything else about program requirements? No? Okay. We're all good? Okay. That's okay. Yes, but please look and explore the academic calendar. That is where you're going to find everything. Next question. I'm a transfer student and have been awarded 5.5 credits. Am I able to apply straight for a major in the psychology program? Okay, so I'm going to give this to our psych department.
So unfortunately, if you're coming outside of U of T, if you get a transfer credit for psychology, we'll let you use that as a prerequisite. So you don't have to retake psychology or take our psychology. But then we need you to take at least 2 second-year psych courses at UTM, and then we'll assess you on those. So if you're coming in with 5.5, your first year is going to look at second year psych courses as opposed to the Psych 100. Our Psych 100 is a full year course. That's why we ask the students who come in as transfer credits. If you're given the transfer credit for psych, we'll accept it toward the program. We just want to accept it to get into the program, just because our students need a minimum grade to get into that, and we don't see grades at transfer credits. So you would take a minimum of at least 2. To take more, we include both, and then all, and then you need a 64 average in your psych and an annual GPA of 2.0 for a major. Specialist, it's 3.0 and a 77.
Perfect. Thank you, Jody. Okay, so does fall winter session mean both semesters? Yes. So just to clarify, from typically September to the end of April, that is your typical academic year. So that is the fall and winter session. So again, September to December, that's your first semester. And then from January to April is your second semester. So then from September all the way to the end of April, that is your fall winter session. Can a course fulfill both a program and a distribution requirement at the same time? Yes, it can. So for my science students, which is what we're focused on today, if say you're taking 0.5 credits worth of biology, that would equal to 1.0 credit in biology, and that would typically meet your science distribution requirement. So you wouldn't really have to worry about that. So what we are then thinking about for you is you'd have to think about, what am I going to take for my social sciences and what am I going to take for my humanities? What interesting courses do you recommend? Okay, I'm going to actually call on all of my colleagues to maybe give their opinion. Interesting is a very subjective word. Everyone has different academic interests. So of course, you might find super challenging, might not be your favorite, but it could be someone else's favorite. I remember for myself, I really enjoyed Sociology 100 when I first started. That was one of my top choices in my first year. I'm going to send it to maybe Nagarj, and then she can keep on sending it.
Yeah, in my first year, one of my favorite courses that I took, I think, was FSC 100, is an introductory forensics course. And like we've been mentioning throughout the presentation, first year is all about exploring. I loved Forensics 100, but it depends on what your interests are in and what your strengths are in. Maybe we can ask our peer leaders too, who are current students.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes up down to like your interests. Something that's great about like exploring your options now is that when you get into fourth year, you tend to have that availability to take courses that you really like. So I like more advanced courses. The introductory ones really lay the groundwork for that, and then you can kind of explore the discipline from there.
Yeah, for me, my first year consisted of taking a lot of electives. So I was trying around with a lot of different things, which is how I landed my political science minor. But I actually really enjoyed a UTM 1 course that was offered that year called Rhetorics of Resistance. They switch up every single year and it's offered differently. But if you're interested in UTM 1 courses, which are really fun, in my opinion, you can definitely check them out.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie or Jody, do you have anything else specific to add? No? Okay.
Well, I'm going to override Stephanie and say psychology, of course. But just so everyone knows, psychology at UTM is a Bachelor of Science. We don't offer a BA. Some people get confused about other universities offer both or one. We are a Bachelor of Science. We do fall under the life stream category. You do get a Bachelor of Science if you do at least a major and a specialist in psychology. So those are just things to keep in mind.
Okay. Would having chem, bio, calc, and electives, example psychology, be considered unreasonable/unrealistic as a life science student? So I see Stephanie shaking her head. From a registrarial standpoint, that is fine. That is within normal range of what we see students take. I've seen that combination many times, but I actually might ask Stephanie for her input on that.
I mean, that looks pretty much like a normal bio student. Bio students sometimes, quite often, take a psych major together. So they would take, chem, bio, math, and psych, and that would be their 4.0 credits. And then they left with 1.0 for electives of something. Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay. What is the difference between breadth and distribution requirements? Did breadth requirements apply to me if I'm studying at UTM specifically? That is a great question. I think what you're referring to is the breadth requirements, and that's what they use at the St. George campus, which I know can be a little confusing. If you're a UTM student working in your home school is UTM and you're working towards your degree here at UTM, we use the terminology distribution requirements. So again, that's 3.0 that you need to have to work towards your 20.0 credits to graduate. 1.0 being in sciences, 1.0 being in social sciences, and 1.0 being in humanities. Breadth requirements, I believe, applies to the downtown campus. Okay, can I do a joint major in CS, which I'm assuming is computer science, or a specialization? So yes, there are different I guess like programs within computer science. There are different specializations as well as majors. I actually might ask Cece, who is in computer science, if she has anything to add to this.
Not sure what they meant by like a joint major in CS. There's only the computer science major. You can definitely do a double major with something else. A lot of my friends do math or the technology coding and society within the CCIT program. Specializations, computer science offers 2 specialist programs, the information security and the computer science specialist program. And they overlap like 95% of the courses. Only in information security, you need to take a bit more math courses, like 1 or 2. So I have friends that are enrolled in both of the specializations as well. So you could definitely do a joint major, or if you want, you can enroll in both of the specialists.
Thank you, Cece. How do you know what specific programs you can enroll in under your faculty? I.e., can a life science student enroll for a major in business and English, or do I have to enroll in science-related programs? That's a great question. So you can, for your different posts or your different programs, you can choose it from different departments and different faculties. So for your example, I've definitely seen people do a double major in like biology and English. There's people who've done it in like management, which would be business, and like biology. So there is a different mixture of things. You don't only have to do things from the biology department or for the life science department. There are different areas that you can combine your programs with.
I'm going to add one point to this. As a UTM student, you can only enroll in programs at UTM. We get a lot of students who are interested in doing a program at UTM and then thinking they can do a program at St. George as well. As UTM students, you can only do UTM programs. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your exploration.
Thanks, Nigarish. Okay. What happens if we apply for a course and don't get in, but it's a requirement for post? What would be the solution for that? That's a really great question. So one, to avoid this situation from happening, it's really important that, again, we're doing our prep work so we know which courses we need to do. We know what courses, and they're in our enrollment cart on July 16th. But you know what? Sometimes you decide halfway through, actually, I really want to pursue a sociology major, and you didn't take any of the sociology courses. If you can't get in throughout the fall and winter semester, you could fall winter session. You could always do summer school. That is an option, and you can apply in the next round of post. Or, if that doesn't work for you, you can apply for your post at a later time throughout your undergraduate career. So, for example, if you don't have the prerequisites by the end of your first year, you can take those first year prerequisites in your second year and apply after for that program after you've done that in your second year, and that is totally fine. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add to that. Okay.
So, Stephanie can kind of go with the biology, but if you came in a psych stream, if you've been admitted on ORQ or psych stream, they will pre-enroll you into Psych 100. Whether you stay in that or not, that's up to you. You can drop it and go into English or something else. So the streams you're enrolled in, you are pre-enrolled for those programs potentially that you might go into. I think Stephanie can say what they do for the life science stream.
Yeah, for biology, you have to enroll in the course if you want to take it. So we don't pre-enroll anybody. If you end up waitlisted, some students end up waitlisted for Bio 153, for example, in the winter, and I would just say just wait on the wait list. A lot changes between now and January and now in September, so likely you'll move in anyway. So especially if you enroll right on the date you're supposed to enroll.
So then I might be wrong because we used to. So maybe I'm going to double check that. So I'll check with the registrar, but it used to be done. So they might have changed this. So on the 16th, if you don't see psych, you can decide.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Okay, so we see this next question. Can I take upper year level courses in my first year as someone who's not a transfer student? This is a really great question. It really depends on the course. So again, as we were talking about enrollment blocks and enrollment controls that we see on Timetable Builder, you can also see the prerequisites and co-requisites of for those courses. So that shows whether or not there are certain courses you would have needed to complete before you take this course. Typically, a lot of 200, 300, and 400 level courses, there are certain prerequisites that you've already had to do. So let's say for biology, for example, there's a lot of 200 level bio courses that sound really cool, but you have to have bio 152 and 153 complete. I hope I'm saying that right, Stephanie, to be able to take that course. So if there is a 200 level course that does not have prerequisites and you can get in the course when the enrollment controls are released, that's totally fine. You can take that course, but it just takes a lot of planning and prep work on your end. What is the difference if I do a major or specialization in computer science? Besides the amount of credits, like 10 to 18, how much does it change my future career opportunities? Hey, that is a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have a very specific answer for that. Like I mentioned before, choosing your programs is pretty personal because it depends on what your overall goals are going to be. So this question, I would really recommend, or I would refer someone to the Career Center to talk about how in maybe 5 or 10 years my degree is going to impact me and where I would like to be in that time and how that's going to impact you. Again, a specialization, because you're taking more courses in that department or within that academic area of interest, you're going to be more specialized. So that might be a prerequisite for certain graduate schools or different jobs that you want to take. But then also on the other hand, if you do a major, that allows you to do a major in another program. So it would diversify your interest and your expertise as well. So I know that probably was not the answer you were looking for, but truly it is a personal and very subjective question. So that is something that you have to do a lot of self-reflection on. So, all right, Cece, I'm going to ask you again if you have any insight or if you've heard anything specifically for computer science between the differences between the major and the specialist.
Mostly, if we don't I have no idea about the career options or anything like that. But the major difference is how the student measured credits between 10 to 18. So as a major, like I am, you have a lot more opportunities to choose your upper year programs. Whereas for the specialists, they have to take most of the computer science programs courses offered in the upper year. So maybe you're not really into proving runtime complexity, but in your third year, if you're a specialist, you would have to take those 2 courses on the proofs of the back-end stuff of computer science. So that may be something that you want to consider. And the specialist that's a little bit different from everything else is information security, which really just adds on to CS courses, which is CSE 347 and CSE 427. And they are more focused on like the security end of things, which you can also take as a computer science major or a computer science specialist. To quote one of my professors, paraphrase actually, you don't necessarily need to graduate with an information security specialist on your resume to become someone that's working in security, as long as you've taken the courses or you've done the additional certificates that are there outside. So that's something that you can consider.
Thank you, Cece. Okay. Some courses have more than one practical/tutorial. Do we have to take all listed practicals or just one? Okay, that's a great question. So typically for courses, there might be one lecture, but maybe 5 options for tutorial. If you see the tutorial has smaller classrooms, and that's for because like you only take one tutorial per lecture or one practical per lecture, and that is to give you the time to have a bit more of a smaller classroom experience. They're typically run by teaching assistants, and you have the opportunity to have that discussion, and that's to complement what you have learned already and discussed in lecture. Does any department or any other advisor have anything else to add to that one?
I was going to say where the practicals and tutorials overlap. We get a lot of questions about that. That means that when they're forcing you to take like practical 1 and tutorial 1, that's because they're probably offering them in alternating weeks. We do that with a lot of our second year courses. So it's going to force you to pick the matching practical, and that's okay that it's conflicting. So don't worry about that.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. If a required course has a prerequisite course, are you supposed to take them at the same time or have to complete the prerequisite one to enroll in it? Yes. So typically for a prerequisite, that means it is a course you have to have already taken and completed and passed. Sometimes there's a certain grade you have to meet to take the next course that you are interested. There are sometimes you have to take something called co-requisite, and that is when you have to take the course at the same time concurrently together. So you'd have to take them in the same semester. If anyone else has anything to add, please feel free. I think we're all good on that one. If I want to do a second major in psychology, but don't have the prerequisite in grade 12 biology, is it still possible to take psychology? So I'm going to hand this off to Jody.
Good question. Yes, unfortunately, you do have to get it. So whether you do it in the summer now, whether you do it in your first year, second year, third year, it has to be completed. We never waive it. So you could take it either through ILC, virtual schools if you're international, local high school, night school, summer school. Once you have it, you just provide confirmation of completion. We don't require a specific grade, just successful completion. But you can take Psych 100 without having the grade 12 bio and advanced functions, but you just can never get into the program to those.
Thanks, Jody. What time does course registration open on the 16th? So this is a really great question. So everyone is actually going to be assigned a specific registration like time frame. So those times and dates will be available on your Acorn starting on July 10th. So on July 10th, you'll see like it might say like July 16th at like 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's when you will have access to your Acorn and start enrolling. So it's very important before July 16th. So again, starting on July 10th, your course enrollment times will be available on Acorn, and it might be different for everyone. So you have to log into your own Acorn. Okay, if I'm doing a specialist, is it possible to have a minor? Yes, so it is. Again, to recap, the standard kind of combination of programs or posts is one specialization, two majors, or a major and two minors. It is possible to do a specialist and a minor together, but something to consider, it might take longer to reach your graduation because you have to meet your specialist requirements as well as your minor requirements. So but again, that's a personal choice. If you choose to do so, that's totally fine. And that's something you can work towards. But just make sure that you're checking with your Degree Explorer to see how that might impact you towards your graduation timeline. Can we take first year level courses during second year? Yes, that's a great question. Yes, so 100 level courses you're able to take them whether in your first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Again, we're really looking at those enrollment controls on Timetable Builder, as well as the prerequisites and co-requisites to make sure that we have everything we need to take the course. But yes, 100 level courses are not restricted to only first years. There's fourth years who decide they want to take a 100 level course. Maybe it's something of interest, or they have to meet their distribution requirements, and they can do it at that point. How many posts should you fulfill requirements for if you are applying for a competitive program as a backup? Oh, okay. That is a great question. Yeah, so it's really important that, especially if you're going for a type 2 or type 3 program that are a bit more competitive, to kind of have a plan A, plan B, plan C in case you do or do not get into them. When you do apply for your program, typically at the end of winter semester after your first year, once you've completed 4.0 credits, you can apply for as many programs as you'd like. And then once the departments make a decision, you'll either get a rejection or an invitation to accept. And at that point, there is a limit to how many you can accept. You can only accept up to 3. So you have until then. So when you are kind of preparing, I guess this depends on like how many courses you'd like to take. Again, if you apply for a program and you don't get in based on your grades or your courses from first year, you can always take more courses in second year and then reapply it a second time. I don't know if there's a specific number of posts that you should fulfill. I would recommend kind of having a plan A combination, plan B combination, and plan C, and hopefully those would kind of overlap a little bit. But again, if it doesn't work out perfectly, that is okay. You have summer school, you also have second and third year to finish those requirements. Nagarish, am I missing anything?
I think you covered everything. When it comes time for actually starting to enroll in post and sort of that March, April period, we do a lot of programming explaining what the process is like, but also starting to think about alternative programs. If in the event you aren't able to get into a competitive program, we do a lot of webinars and events to sort of support you through that process and give you next steps. There really isn't a specific number of backups you can have. It's really up to what you want to do. But like Kate said, it's good to have backup options in mind. So if you know of other programs that you're interested in, or maybe it's something, a course you take in first year and you decide, wait, I actually do want to pursue this, or this is something I could pursue as a backup, that's how you can kind of start thinking about it. But definitely keep an eye out for our programming in the winter term.
Thanks, Nikarish. Okay. Will OSAP not consider me a full-time student if I take less than 3 credits a semester? So I might actually call Andrea, who has a lot of experience in financial aid, to talk about OSAP.
All right, no problem. So in order to be considered a full-time OSAP recipient, you need to be in 1.5 credits each semester. So that's 3 classes each semester at minimum, right? So sometimes students will take 4 classes, which is 2.0 credits each semester, which is an 80% course load overall. That might sound confusing, so let me shut up with all that extra information, okay? So I'm not going to do that to you. But anyways, you need to pass to be considered full-time for OSAP purposes. Full-time means at minimum 1.5 credits each semester, which also then means passing 3 credits at the end of the academic year. Fall, winter, at the end of the academic year, you would have passed 3 credits. Let me give you an example. I was speaking to a student. He thought he had to do 3 credits each semester. So he was graduating and he was hustling and bustling to do 3 credits in one semester. And I was like, why are you doing that? He said, well, I need OSAP. And I said, no. You're taking more credits than you need in order to get OSAP. So fortunately, we were able to fix his schedule before he got his funding. He was able to only take the courses that he needed. And he got his funding for the one semester that he needed, and he was considered to be full-time, and he lived happily ever after. So if you need funding, if you need assistance, you come to us in the Office of the Registrar for guidance, but you don't need to do, because that would ultimately look like 6 credits each term, right? That's a lot, guys. So you don't need to do that. 1.5 each term means the minimum, which is considered to be full-time for the purposes of OSAP. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I just want to also mention to all of our students that when it comes to OSAP, which is on Ontario funding for Ontario students, the people who can help you are our financial aid officers. As academic advisors, we can't provide you with a lot of guidance on that because every OSAP application is very specialized and different per student. So it's always best to speak directly with financial aid about anything regarding OSAP or your funding. Why do some courses have 2 time slots on the same day? For example, Mat 102 has 2 lecture times. Are both times teaching the same material? So from a registrarial perspective, yes. Typically, they have 2 lectures just for logistical reasons. Sometimes they don't, like, that's what's going to work best for the course. They want to put a limit to the number of students in one lecture and the one in the other. Sometimes it's different professor. But yes, typically the content is quite identical. And they just do that also to meet different students and professors, like scheduling conflicts. Stephanie or Jody, do you have anything to add for that?
I would say just as long as they have different numbers, like there might be some courses where you have 2 lecture sections, but they might be, lecture 101. Lecture 101 might be on Tuesday and Thursday. So you definitely have to attend both of those if that's confusing. But if it's lecture 101 and 102, you only need to be in one of those.
Yeah, so Psych 100, we only have one first year course, so it's about 1,400 students. So we can't teach that many at one time. So the max we can do is 500 in our lecture hall. So what we do is we break it down. So the same instructor, the same course content, it's just repeat it. So it's L101, L102, L103. Whatever fits in your timetable, it's exact same content, exact same test material, not the same test material. So you only choose one, and then you only choose one practicum, and that's every other week. So when you do it on your timetable, say bio is on 1 week, ours might be alternate. So that's why you see them clashing, but they're really not, because labs and psychology are just every other week. So if that makes sense for some.
Perfect. Thank you both. Okay. July 16th is a date to apply for courses only in the fall semester, correct? There will be a separate date for winter. So no. So I want to be very, very clear. One, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I know it can be confusing and it might be different from what you've had in high school, but I want to be very, very clear. July 16th for our year 1 incoming students, you are choosing courses for both fall and winter semester. Again, I know winter semester, you're like, that's all the way in January. I don't know what my life is going to be like at that point. That is okay. Please enroll in what you think you're going to want to do in January. And then throughout the fall and the summer, you'll have time to and you can switch out of courses and you can make decisions. But for right now, please make sure you do enroll in courses. If you are planning to take courses in winter, you're applying on July 16th to both fall and winter courses. Okay. On the UTM calendar, it is stated that to enroll in a psychology specialist program, completing 8.0 credits is required. Does this mean it is only possible to apply after second year? I'm going to send this to Jody.
So yes, that's correct. So after you have 4 credits, you're required to choose your program. Unfortunately, our specialists, we only allow 8 credits. We wait till after your second year to assess you just to make sure you really, really want to do it. So what students do, typically, they would then go into the major after their first year. That's only 4 credits and a different minimum grade and GPA requirement. They would go into maybe another major, like say neuroscience specialist students, they would maybe go into a bio major, have that as a double major, and then upgrade to the neuroscience specialist after their second year. Or social psych as a major, and then just go to the psych specialist. So yes, unfortunately, you do need the UTM credits to apply to any specialist program in psychology.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, computer science has deregulated fees, but those deregulated fees, but do those deregulated fees apply in first year or only in second year and higher? Okay, so this is a great question. Nagarj, please correct me if I am wrong, or Andrea, please correct me if I'm wrong. Typically for our deregulated programs, those are basically programs that have a higher tuition rate than our standard regulated programs. So computer science, commerce, management, CCIT, DEM, those types of programs are considered deregulated. Mm-hmm. So typically with those, once you get into the program and you have to have completed 4.0 credits, that's when your tuition would be raised and charged at a deregulated rate. So your first, I believe, 4.0 credits are considered regulated. And then after you've earned 4.0, you'll be then charged at a deregulated fee for those specific programs.
That is correct. I'd like to add to that, though. It is when you get into the program. So what happens oftentimes is someone does not get into the program until maybe the end of the second year, end of the third, at some point during the third year, right? So what ends up happening is they have 14 credits. So that what happens is they are then back charged. So once they select yes, they look on their account and they're like, oh my God, I have all this money on my account. Where did it come from? You were back charged up to the 4th credit. You've been back charged for all the courses you've taken up to that point. And then on a go forward basis, you will then be charged the deregulated fee, if that makes sense. It can be a little bit confusing, but I hope that makes sense. You will be back charged for as of the 4th credit onward once you get into the program, regardless of when you get into the program. Okay?
Yes, thank you, Andrea. That is something very important for everyone to take note of, especially for those deregulated programs, because that money can all of a sudden pop up on your eCoin. How does course enrollment work on Acorn? Is it like a shopping cart? That's a great question. And yes, we literally call it your enrollment cart. So, to clarify, Timetable Builder is truly a planning tool. So it is like a mock schedule and you can create that. It is not attached to your account at all. So it is a planning tool. So if you create a schedule on Timetable Builder, it does not automatically get put into your enrollment cart. It is just a planning tool. You take the information and the schedule you've created on Timetable Builder, and then you can log into Acorn. You can log in before July 16th. We do actually recommend that. And you put all your carts. It's truly like online shopping. You just click add and you add it to your enrollment cart. You will not be able to enroll in your courses until July 16th at your designated time. But if you have everything in your cart, once you log in on the 16th, you go through your cart and you just click like approve, 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 and then it all gets enrolled that way. But yes, it is very simple for anyone who's ever done online shopping once in their life. You will be able to do it, no problem. Okay. One of my courses is online synchronous, but I plan to still go to campus on that day so I can do in-person lectures. What is your opinion on doing online synchronous lectures on campus? Okay, interesting question. Great question to have. So from what I'm understanding from your question is that the course that you're planning to enroll in is offered online synchronously, meaning you have to be online at a certain time. If you do choose to come into campus to do so, that's totally fine. But there's not going to be, typically, there's not like a lecture hall that is booked off for you or that the professor is like streaming live from. They might be like in their own home or they might be in their office doing the lecture online. You can definitely come to campus to, if that's where you concentrate the best. There are so many different like study rooms, libraries, places on campus that you can watch your lecture from. But I want to clarify that it's not like a hybrid model where you could come in or you could stay home. Typically, if it's an online synchronous course, it is a truly online course unless it says something else or you've talked to your professor and they have another arrangement for you. What is the selection rate for the incoming class in computer science? That's a great question. I'm assuming we're looking kind of at like what is the maybe acceptance rate for when you apply for computer science at the end of your first year. I'm assuming for that question. I know it can feel very daunting because you've already worked hard to get into the university, and now you feel like you have to go through another round of competition and a bit of competitiveness to get into your computer science program, which can be competitive because it is a popular program. We don't have exact statistics to give you all. Typically, for like type 3 programs, the average that you need to have or the certain grades that you need to meet for certain courses, it changes every year depending on the rest of the cohort. So I know this is probably not the advice you want to hear, but typically we encourage them just to do their best and really focus on achieving a high GPA. By having the higher GPA, you will have more options of what you want to do and can do. For specific computer science advising, so throughout your first year, if you're having questions of kind of like how to go through, or if you're wondering if you're going to make it into computer science, speaking directly with the academic advisors for computer science, their advising team will have that information for you. So for the office of the registrar, we can't give you the specifics into computer science. You'll have to go straight directly to the department, and you can find their contact information on the academic calendar. Are we allowed to take just take one major? So at UTM, no, you cannot just take one major. Again, the standard combination of program/post is either one specialist, two majors, or a major and two minors. So if there's one major you're really, really interested in, maybe consider, and you don't want to take anything else, you could consider doing a specialist in that instead. But if you do truly just like the major, you will either have to find another major to complement that program, or you could do two minors and diversify your interests that way. Uh, can I take summer session Can I take summer sessions for courses not in my program but required for graduate school? Yes. So again, summer school is optional and it's an option open to students if you wish to take it. You are able to also take courses not in your program throughout the regular year as well. So say, Stephanie, please correct me if I'm wrong. If like for a biology major, but you really like English and you want to take that as an elective, you can take English courses as well with your bio. There's nothing prohibiting you from doing that. Okay, what are some electives you would recommend for a student aiming to get into the CS specialist? So again, to get into the program, you have to meet those entry requirements. So please check the academic calendar to see which courses and what grades you need to meet to get in. And that is what they're going to look for. When it comes to electives, I might ask Cece, sorry for picking on you, Cece, if you have any recommendations or if you've heard of any courses that people found were really helpful or that you just really liked in general.
In terms of electives, a lot of my friends ended up taking CCT 109 and CCT 111 as their backup plan if they don't get into computer science, because there is the Technology Coding and Society program post under the CCIT program, which you would require CCT 109, CCT 111, I think 110, sorry, and I think there's another coding CCT course that it's required, and it also completes your social science distribution requirements. So that's what a lot of my friends did. Some of them did take like some linguistics courses that they found interesting. It's mostly what I did was I took courses that I found interesting and that I knew wouldn't really hinder my way of getting into CS, because I guess your focus would still be making it into the program of study. I guess I'm just going to use this to just like let everyone know that when you're looking at the computer science entrance requirements, you can see that there's MAT. You can take either MAT 135 and 136, or MAT 137 and MAT 139 together, or MAT 157 and MAT 159 together. If you are only looking into getting into computer science and you're not that you don't want it to be super math heavy, or you're not looking into getting into the math major, I would recommend, along with the many of like upper year math students, would recommend you to take MAT 135 and 136. If you are interested, however, in especially the mathematics specialist, then MAT 135 and MAT 157 and 159 would be your go-to. It's just that they really increase in difficulty exponentially from 135 to 137, 137 to 157. And if you're really only looking into getting into CS, you might not want to take one of them and then realize that maybe this is not your strong suit, and then having to deal with all the timetable mess ups afterwards.
Amazing. Thank you, Cece. Okay. How exactly does the transfer credit process work? Should we use the second year course enrollment date if we wish to do this? Nagarj, I'm going to ask you to take on this question.
Yeah, so it depends on how many transfer credits you've received or are going to receive if you'd qualify as a second year. So at UTM, we have year of study, which is based off how many credits you have. So to be considered year of study 2, you would need to have received 4.0 transfer credits, which if that's the case, then you'd be considered year of study 2, and you can follow those dates. Yeah, so it's hard to say specifically. It just depends on how many transfer credits you get. If you get under 4.0, you'd be considered year of study 1, so you'd be following the enrollment dates listed as year of study 1.
Thank you, Nagarj. When would applying for summer semester courses start? That's a great question. So the schedule for summer school typically comes out later in the winter semester, around winter reading week. So like mid to the end of February, you'll be getting emails and reminders if you through your U of T email if you do wish to register for summer school, and that will happen again closer to the end of February, early March. One of my scheduled plans includes an event right before MAT 102 lecture dedicated for tests/quizzes. So I am concerned if they would still adhere to the 10-minute rule delay. What do you think? That's a great question. That would maybe be a question for the math department. If any of my department advisors have anything to add, or Cece, if you know anything from experience, or anyone from experience, you want to add that?
The time blocks for tests and quizzes are different compared to the exams, where typically it would start later. They do recommend you to arrive before, like 10 minutes before the tests and quizzes. They might not adhere to the 10-minute delay rule, in which case, since I know that the quizzes are timed, you will just be, if you're late, it's likely that you might just end up like missing the minutes and then like losing the time compared to all other students. So that's something that you might want to consider. Alternatively, you can try talking to one of the professors when school starts and then ask them about the specifics.
Thank you, Cece. Yes, for this, I would recommend it would be different probably for each course or each professor. So I'd recommend read through the syllabus if it is available. If it is not, you can also reach out to the math department, which is through the academic calendar. That is where their information is listed. Or worst case scenario, you'll just have to wait until classes start. And typically once the syllabus is posted, the professor can walk you through and you can speak with the professor to see what is the logistics and what can be accommodated. If a course has a prerequisite, which is a high school course and has a minimum grade, do we need to do anything in that case, or will it just happen when our final grades get added to OUAC? I'm actually going to send this to Stephanie.
So if you did school in Ontario, it will get uploaded right to Degree Explorer and we'll see it in there. And if you're talking about, I can only speak about Bio 152 where we require 70% in grade 12 bio. But if you did your school anywhere else than Ontario or didn't do school like in winter 2025, so on any other cycle, it's not going to show up in there, but our staff, we do have access to look in there and we will look in your application for that material and look for the grade in there. And we will reach out if there's a problem. So if you're enrolling in Bio 152 and you don't hear from us, by the middle of August or so, then just assume everything's good.
Thanks, Stephanie. Is it possible to have a one-on-one meeting with an academic advisor to discuss our program, course, and schedule plans? Okay, so this is a really great question. So right now, as an incoming student for your first year, we do not do individual programming. We want you to come to group advising sessions like you are doing today, which is a great step. We have a lot of different other webinars going on throughout the rest of the summer. That is where you're going to get the bulk of your information. Perfect. Yes. Thank you. There's different webinars and events. That is for we have a dedicated team of new student advisors. So we are the ones providing all this group advising. We don't necessarily do one-on-one advising just yet, just because all the information you're going to need is going to be covered during those group advisings. Now, once you start school and you're halfway through your first year or in your second, third, and fourth, and you're having trouble figuring out your scheduling, or you're really having some trouble with your academics, or you're facing some barriers, that is when we come and do more complex cases. And we do encourage you to submit a ticket on Ask Registrar. And that's where you can book a one-on-one appointment. But if not, we do highly recommend please attend our general group advising sessions for the summer. If you're an incoming first year, that is where you're going to get a lot of your information from. Also on that, we also recommend please, if you're not already involved with Eagle Connect, definitely start attending those sessions. Everyone is already pre-enrolled if you're a first-year student, and you'll have access to a squad leader who's an upper year student here at UTM, and you can get their advice on things if you want to bounce ideas off of them. That's someone who is great to chat with as well. Okay, so for type 3 programs, is it just a CGPA that matters, or do they require courses also carry extra weight, i.e., do those courses also need to be strong to stay competitive? So this is a great question, and it's very subjective. Again, I'm going to reference you to our academic calendar. So you can just look up on like Google or search engine UTM Academic Calendar. It'll be the one for this upcoming year. Look through the list of programs that you're interested in, and on there, it will show all the entry requirements. So again, for type 3, which is our most competitive program, it depends on the program. It also depends on the specialist versus the major. Sometimes they're only looking at the average of the required courses. Sometimes they're looking at your entire CGPA. Sometimes it's the weighted average. So I highly recommend you look through the academic calendar, because that is where it's going to outline that, because it really does depend on which program you're looking into. So August 12th is the deadline to pay the fees. So we pay before OSAP pays us. I thought it won't pay us until the near end of August, so I can defer till then. Yeah, so August 12th is the deadline to either pay your fees, or if you're an OSAP student, you can, and you're registered with OSAP, you can defer your fees on August 12th. So that's letting the university know, hi, I'm registered with OSAP. They said my money is coming. They just haven't processed it yet. So the university knows on our end that everything's ready to go, and we're just waiting for OSAP. So August 12th, again, is a deadline to either pay or to defer your fees if you're an OSAP student. Is summer school quicker in length like high school? Will I lose some content knowledge? That's a great question. So yeah, so our summer school sessions are compressed. So typically in a fall or winter semester, it's about 12 weeks a semester. But in summer school, it's only 6 weeks a semester. And you don't lose any content. The courses are still equivalent, but the pace at which the course goes at is a lot faster. So typically in a 12-week, say if you had one lecture and one tutorial a week during summer school, typically it would be 2 lectures and 2 tutorials a week. So you don't lose content, but it is at a lot faster for rate, which is why we also understand summer school is not for everyone, which is totally fair. You might want to do other opportunities in the summer. You might want to work. You might want to volunteer. You might want to travel, be with family, or just like take a break. And those are important parts of being a student as well. So that is why summer school is not mandatory, is optional. Some students like the faster pace and it works better with their schedule. But you do not lose course content, and earning and passing a course in summer school holds the same weight as the regular school year. You do not lose content. Okay. If I have an entrance scholarship, does it automatically apply to the tuition payment? Nagarj and Andrea, please correct me if I'm wrong. Typically, if it is a internal U of T scholarship, it'll be added straight to your Acorn. If it is a third-party scholarship, there might be some different processes for that and paperwork. So make sure if you do have a third-party scholarship, like from a different like organization, you can always look up like U of T third-party scholarship, and it'll explain the process of how to get that money and how that is kind of related to your finances. But I will give it to Nagarj and or Andrea if they have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, so an entrance scholarship does typically apply to your tuition payment. Oftentimes you can use it to defer. I don't know when the scholarship is applied to your account. I don't know. That is typically done through admissions. But if you have the letter, usually you have a letter. If it's not showing up on your account, I'm confident you can go to the frontline staff and they can do something for you. I don't know exactly what it is, but usually through the entrance scholarship, you can defer fees.
Typically for entrance scholarships, for the UTM entrance scholarships, they usually get posted end of September, early October. You just need to keep an eye on your invoice. It will get posted automatically. And if your scholarship does cover a majority of your fees, you might be eligible to defer. A great resource for that is the registration guide. It outlines both how to pay your fees, and then also who's eligible for deferrals and how to go about deferring.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Nikarish. Is it wise to have 5 courses first semester and then 4 courses in the winter schedule? So this is a great question. Again, building your schedule and choosing your programs is very personal. It's very subjective. It depends what is going to work best for you. So typically, a lot of students take 5 courses a semester when they want to graduate in 4 years. Again, you do not have to do this. You have options of taking maybe 6 courses another semester, or you could do summer school, or you could decide I want to graduate in 5 years instead of 4 years. So as advisors, what we always recommend to students is choose something that works best for you. If going to a part-time status is what works best for you in your circumstances to do the best personally and academically, then that is something that we support. For my students coming into your first year and you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to be able to handle, on July 16th, I would recommend enrolling in courses to be full-time. So like 5 courses a semester. And again, remember those first 2 weeks of the semester, once classes start, you can drop out of the course and still get your course fees back. So if, like, say you're enrolling in 5 courses a semester and then starting September you go and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, like there's a lot of lecture, a lot of tutorial, there's a lot of things going on, you could always drop down to 3 or 2, and then you have those options there. So that's what I would recommend. But if any other advisors, anything, please feel free to
I was going to add to that. That oftentimes when our new students start, they're overzealous, and I think you're excited. You want to get in there and do your thing. And I think that's awesome. That's incredible. You have to keep in mind that you're paying for these courses, right? Over the years, I've had students, they start with 5 courses. They end up dropping 2 at the point where you can't get a refund for these courses. And I liken it to taking $700 and literally just throwing it in the garbage. When you think about it from that perspective, it kind of makes it flow a little bit differently. So I say we should pick the courses that you want, be a little bit more intentional and on point about and honest with yourself. If you think you can handle it, if this course load is something that you think you can handle as the year progresses. Remember, we have papers, we have assignments, we have tests, we have midterms, we have finals, we have all these things. I remember when I was in grad school, I had in my second year, my first semester, I took all these courses that were just like amazing. I was just like, oh, these courses, they're amazing. I love them. And it was like crazy hours. I won't even tell you how many hours I did, but I'll never forget when it came down to midterms and finals, I couldn't breathe. Like it was unreal, like how much it took out of me. And even though I enjoyed the content, just the stress of getting my work, assignments, just all of it, it wasn't cute. Right. So I just want us to keep that in mind. We are now at this level responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our education. We're responsible for everything. So you just have to be a little bit more intentional and honest with yourself about what it is you think you can handle. Okay. And remember, you're paying for it. Like it's money. Okay. So keep that in mind.
I'm also going to pick on Laura a bit because I know she's done less than the standard course load. So Laura, do you have any input?
Yeah, I prefer doing 3 courses each semester. It's what works for me. It's kind of up to you and your priorities. So for me, it's not about getting done maybe in my like allotted 4-year timeline. But to get in my graduate program, which has another thing I'd recommend is maybe enrolling in a couple courses, maybe intending on dropping some. It's what I do. I kind of like style, and that will really like help you figure out if that's something that you will do well in and succeed in.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Nagarj. And thank you, Andrea. I like Andrea's comment on it is truly like burning $700 for our domestic students. I know for our international students, there are a different tuition rate as well. So let's just keep in mind, of course, we want to try things out, but we are also responsible for our education and the other financial responsibilities and commitments that come along with it. So let's keep that in mind, which I know can be very difficult and not fun to think about sometimes. Okay, if one wanted to complete a major in biology for health science and a minor in psychology and a minor in education studies, would they graduate with an honors bachelor's of science? Okay, so this is a great question. So when you're doing a combination of programs, I know you might be like, oh, does it count towards like which honors degree does it count towards? So again, if I am wrong about this, someone please correct me. If you are doing a major in science and then say either a major or a double minor in like social sciences or humanities, you have the option to choose between an honors bachelor's of arts or an honors bachelor's of science. If you're doing like a specialist in a science, you would get a special honors degree in science. If you're doing a specialist in arts, you would do an honors degree in like an HBA as an honors bachelor's of arts. And then I believe for BCom, Bachelor's of Commerce, you have to be in one of the specialist programs similar to the BBA program. You'd have to be a specialization in management. But if you're doing a mix of both science and science and arts, you have that option to choose between. But if you're doing two, like a major in art, and then a minor in art, and then only one minor in science, I believe you only qualify for an honors bachelor's of arts. Okay, if I get into a minor through post but end up not fulfilling by the time you graduate, what will happen? Will you be held back or just graduate? Okay, great question. So this depends on if you have completed your other program requirements. So let's say you did a specialist and then you also wanted to do a minor and you were enrolled in a minor, but you've completed your degree requirements and your specialization program requirements, but you just didn't do your minor. You'll when graduation comes through and they're doing the audit, you'll have to apply to graduate. And then if you choose to not do your minor, that's fine as long as you've completed your specialization program requirements, then you're able to graduate with that. Okay, so MAT 134 in combination with MAT 132 is required for the bio major. If we were to fail MAT 134 and retake it after getting into the bio major, will the first attempt be considered not applicable? I'm going to send this to Stephanie.
If you fail a course, it still counts. Unless you're trying to there's some options that you can look into to repeat courses. But yeah, if you fail one of them, then it still counts, but you can still get into the bio program because math's not required to get into the program. It's only required to complete the program. So if you struggle in the first year with math, just make sure you have 4 credits and your CGPA still meets our minimums, and then you should be okay with the bio major. Take math later.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. Actually, on that one question, when we're talking about failing, I just want to clarify here at UTM, a 50% as your final grade or above, that is considered a pass. A 49% and below is considered a fail. If you fail a course, it will stay on. Typically, it stays on your academic record unless you choose to do something like called a credit, no credit, which that is something for a discussion later on. But sometimes students get confused. They're like, oh, if I retake the same course, let's use MAT 134 as an example. They're like, oh, will it replace the first attempt? No, it does not. That fail will still be on your record. It will still show on your academic transcript. But then MAT 134, when you retake it and you hopefully do better and get a better mark, that will also be there and also count towards your degree. Okay. I was accepted as a Bachelor's of Arts student, but was previously pursuing a BA Psychology in my other university. What would I need to do to shift to do that, a Bachelor's of Science? So I'm going to send this to Jody for Psych.
So you'll probably get transfer credits for psychology. So even if it was a BA, they will give you probably first year psychology. like I said, you can use that as a prerequisite, but we do, in order to ever get into a Bachelor of Science of Psychology, you have to have the 4U bio and the 4U advanced functions minimum. We won't accept data management, and we'll accept calculus. So as long as you have those completed, either before or during, after your first or second year, as long as they're eventually completed, you can get into the psychology programs and graduate with a Bachelor of Science.
Thank you, Jody. When should we expect to receive news about UTAP's funding if it has been granted? I'm going to ask if Andrew or Nagarj has any information on this because I don't know the deadlines off the top of my head.
UTAPS is typically, that is done at some point during the year. It's usually done after the assessment of OSAP at some point, maybe I think at the end of September, beginning of October, but usually the disbursement of OSAP has already been given. The students are in school. So a part of that also, UTAP's assessment is making sure that the student has maintained a full-time status. So there's a few things that play a role into that. So it's at some point in October. I can't definitively say. And because they have UTAPs at all 3 campuses, it may vary a little bit, but I cannot definitively say. But at some point, in October-ish.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, I know it can be frustrating when we're kind of like around this time. I know sometimes it's nicer to know the exact date. Unfortunately, we don't know that. It is on a rolling basis sometimes, or there's different factors that come in. So it's really important to keep an eye on your U of T email. Even throughout the summer, I make it a habit, check your U of T email every single day. It only takes a minute because it will have some important information about registration, finances, and you want to get into that habit, especially when you're a student, because professors might email you, academic advisors might email you, and they need to see you like in the next day or so. So really try and get that into the habit of checking your email once a day. Okay. What are some good first-year electives for a life-size student who wants to do medical school in the future? So I would recommend, if medical school is something you're really interested in, that's great that you're planning early. I'd recommend start even like researching different medical schools, whether you want to stay in Ontario, Canada, if you want to go abroad. You can also, once you start school here, you can speak to our career center and they can help you kind of figure out what to do for your next steps and who to talk to if you're interested in medical school. I will ask Stephanie if she has any insight about this from her background in biology.
I mean, we don't deal with admissions to medical schools, and it feels hard to advise people on that. I would say go to your medical school, see what they want, and make sure you're working backwards from there, especially if there's some chem courses that you might need, but maybe you don't need it and you want to do a bio minor and you don't need chemistry. So I would say for sure work backwards on that. But I mean, some students like ANT 101, which is biological anthropology. That's a pretty interesting one. I hear a lot of students in who want to go to med school are taking that course. So that's one option.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. How many courses can we pick for the summer program? Okay, so this is a great question. So again, the fall-winter semester happens from the start of September and it goes until the end of April. And then the summer session is from May to August. So the first subsession of summer is May to June, and then there is July to August. Because it's at a condensed rate, overall, your maximum you're allowed to take is 2.0 credits throughout all of summer school. Typically 1.0 credits in first semester. That's typically like 1 to 2 courses. And then 1 to 2 courses in second semester as well. There is an option to do a quote unquote like course overload, but that's something to worry about like later on. But yes, typically you'd either have to do one really intense compressed course in one summer semester or like 2 courses. That's typically our maximum. Is there a set amount of payment per program per semester, regardless of how many courses you take, or does it depend on the course? Okay. So what I'm understanding from this question is kind of like basically how is our like tuition determined? So that depends on a couple things. So it depends on your registration status, like full-time versus part-time, whether you're a domestic or international student, and what type of program you're in. For example, if we're looking at a full-time Ontario resident student in their first year, so you're in a regulated program, your tuition will be coming from, there's like incidental and student fees. Basically, that is set for all full-time students will have to pay. So that is a set amount. And then your tuition will also be based on how many courses you choose to enroll in. So again, if you're a full-time student, you could take 3 courses a semester, or you could take up to 6. So that really depends. Typically, if you're in a regulated program, each course will also be charged per course. To learn more about your tuition, I recommend looking at U of T student accounts. That's from the University Registrar's Office downtown. So that's for all of U of T. And it breaks down, there's different payment schedules and breakdowns to show kind of like how much your tuition will be and where that money is coming from and how it is being created depending on the number of programs. Depending on the number of courses that you've enrolled in. So that's U of T student accounts.
Just for the record, once you get into a program, particularly a deregulated program, you're paying a program fee, and you're paying one per semester, you're paying one set amount, and you're able to take up to, depending on the program, up to either 5 or 6 credits. So it depends. Just for the record, it depends on the program that you're in. You'll have to look at the academic calendar for that, and that becomes more of a pressing concern once you get into the actual deregulated program. Okay, so that's when you're paying a program fee and you're only allowed to take up to a certain amount of credits. Just to add to that.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, the deregulated, we always sometimes forget about that, but it's good to keep our mind if you're interested in deregulated program, definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Will we be able to view this live stream again after it finishes? Yes, you will. Thank you so much all for joining us. I see there's still quite a few of you who stayed this entire time, so thank you so much. This live stream or recording will be living on our YouTube channel, so you can just look up like UTM Registrar's Office and you'll be able to find this recording. I do highly recommend you go through the obviously the registrar's YouTube channel. There's a lot of different recordings of webinars about choosing programs and choosing courses and how to stay on track with your academics. There's a lot of information here. So if you have time, definitely start reviewing it. And that would be very helpful to prep for your first year. Okay. Other than that, I think that was actually our last question. So I want to thank everyone for coming and being for such an engaged audience. We hope you've enjoyed your time and we're really excited for you all to come. I want to thank all of my colleagues, all the different advisors and our peer leaders to come through and share their knowledge. Again, if you are interested, we are having another course enrollment workshop tomorrow morning, and this is geared towards students in the arts programs. But again, you're more than welcome to still join us. And if you're considering maybe a major or a minor in arts program, please feel free. We also have other programs and events coming up throughout the summer to help prepare you for your incoming first year. So please check out our events and webinars at uft.me/UTM-new. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.